困った。やはり殺すか。
海軍の包囲は予想したが、島の形が変わるほどとは。
名号レイリー、
遅くなってすまない。ハンコック、おい、白ひげの見習い小僧、大人げないが、私はお前が嫌いでね。
In One Piece, some battles aren't just about winning, they are about making a statement. From the Straw Hats marching to Frankie's house to avenge Usopp, to Shanks ending the war with nothing but his presence, these are the moments when One Piece characters undeniably showed they were the boss. We start with one of the most shocking moments of the final saga. After taking down Big Mom, Kid's confidence was sky high. So high, he thought he could take on another Yonko. But this time, it was Big Daddy Shanks.
Oh, こちらKizaru。おお、到着しましたんで。When
Luffy punched a celestial dragon, chaos broke out across the island. To restore order, the Marines sent in an admiral, and Kizaru made his entrance in one of the most epic ways. His aura alone showed who the boss was, as he casually toyed with the most dangerous rookies and reminded everyone what admiral level truly means. Next, we have one of the cleanest boss moments in One Piece. Bellamy mocked Luffy's dreams and acted like he was untouchable, but Luffy stayed quiet, because true bosses don't need to show off. But when Bellamy stole from one of Luffy's friends, that was the line. And in that moment, Luffy showed him who the real boss was.
あいつらが友達だって何が黄金鏡、何が空島だ。いや、消えた。これは処刑人ロシオがやられた時の。眠る時代は終わったんだ。海賊の恥さらしども。いや、現実を生きる資格もねえのさ。
パンチの打ち方を知ってるかって？
When the new Admiral Greenbull tried to invade Wano, he thought the weakened samurais would be easy prey. But Shanks wasn't about to let that happen. Without even stepping onto the battlefield, he froze an admiral in place. No blows, no clash, just pure, overwhelming hockey. Egghead was already in chaos. The strongest were clashing all across the island. Luffy was locked in a high-speed fight with Kizaru, Zoro was battling Lucci, and Sanji, as always, was busy saving women. But then, Saturn of the Five Elders decided to step onto the battlefield. Everyone could feel it immediately. Something terrifying was about to happen. The atmosphere shifted in an instant, and the weight of his presence crushed down on allies and enemies alike. Just appearing was enough to show that this was a completely different level of authority. By the time when Frankie was not a Straw Hat yet, he and his family did some real damage to the crew. They beat up Usopp and stole all of the money the Straw Hats had gathered for their new ship. Usopp, stubborn as ever, went straight to their base to take it back, but alone, he never stood a chance. They crushed him, mocked him, and left him humiliated right outside their door. When Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Chopper found him, everything changed. Their mood turned deadly serious, and as they marched toward Frankie's house, you could feel the tension building with every step. And when they kicked down that door, the Straw Hats made it clear who the real bosses were.
ふざけた家。
麦わらのルフィ。
ゴムゴムのキャ
ノンマジでやべえぞ。
閉まらねえ真似すんじゃねえよ。
ここにはもうその金はねえんだぜ。
もう喋ってくれるな。
おめえら骨も残らねえと思え。
来るぞかぐれ。
Back in the Baratie arc, we got one of the most iconic entrances in all of One Piece. The strongest swordsman in the world appeared out of nowhere, cutting down Don Krieg's entire fleet with ease. It wasn't just an introduction, it was a statement that the gap between Mihawk and everyone else was on a different level. And when Zoro challenged him, we saw that gap in full. Mihawk didn't even need his massive blade. Using only a tiny dagger, he completely humiliated him.
全力を出すバカな獣とは違う。
どうバカにすんのも大概にしろ。鬼。何？世界がこんなに遠いはずがねえんだ。俺はこんなおもちゃにあしらわれるために今日まで剣を振ってきたわけじゃない。
If you've watched until here, thank you so much for the insane support. Let me know in the comments which moment is your favorite. Also, there's this new feature where you can hype a video. I don't know how big the impact really is, but I think it would help the channel grow, so feel free to try it out if you want.
誰も遠くへ行かねえように。俺にはついてこれねえぞ。いや、セカンド。
During the fight against Blueno at Eni's lobby, Luffy revealed one of the most legendary power-ups in the series. Up until that point, he had always relied on raw strength and determination, but this time, he pushed his body beyond its limits and introduced Gear Second. He wasn't playing around anymore. To save Nico Robin, he took responsibility like a true captain, and in that moment, Luffy showed he was ready to lead his crew against the world. On Punk Hazard, Law's hands were tied. As long as Virgo held his heart, Law couldn't fight back, no matter how strong he was. Smoker stepped in to face Virgo head-on, but even with all his strength, he couldn't win. Then came the turning point. Smoker overheard Law saying that he could defeat Virgo, but only if he got his heart back. So in the middle of the battle, Smoker risked everything to snatch it away. And the moment he handed it back, everything flipped instantly.
何の真似だ。君らしくない戦術だったな。なぜ必要に能力を使う。遊びはおしまいだ。鬼竹。
確かに返してもらった。
これで借りはなしだ。
おかげで助かったのも事実だな。
さっさとケリをつけろ。
これで終わりだ。
At Impel Down, there was pure chaos like never before. Even Blackbeard entered the prison as part of his plan to recruit the most dangerous criminals into his crew. But when he came face to face with the boss of this prison, he was reminded who was really in charge. In Impel Down, there was only one boss, and his name was Magellan.
黒ひげだな。
おめんがマゼランか。ヒドラ。こりゃ。お前たちがここへ来た理由を聞く時間。
When a celestial dragon, the so-called highest authority in One Piece, shot Luffy's friend, he couldn't hold back anymore. Luffy didn't care about rules or consequences. And in that moment, he made it clear. Sometimes being the boss means doing what no one else dares to do.
ごめんだ。お前ムカつく。
When Tashigi had to face Monet, she quickly realized she was outmatched. Monet's Logia powers gave her the upper hand, and Tashigi was pushed to the edge. Confident in her victory, Monet believed she had nothing to fear. After all, Zoro was known for not fighting women. But then Zoro stepped in and showed exactly who was in charge. What made this moment unforgettable was Zoro's composure. He didn't need to finish the fight, but the way he left it showed just how powerful Zoro truly is.
何手を出さないじゃないの。
俺はぼちぼち先に進む。
今完全に私を切る気で斬撃。
もう中に会ったことあるか。俺はねえな。
一刀流。
何体が動かない。
大神官。
Next, we have a moment between two powerhouses. Doflamingo, confident as ever, was ready to silence Smoker, but then Aokiji stepped in. With nothing but calm authority, he made it clear that if Doflamingo wanted to fight, he would lose. There was no need for a full battle, just standing there was enough.
全員皆殺しだ。あらら。そいつさ、俺の友達なんだよ。あれは元隊長青木氏。
After 2 years of training, the Straw Hats reunited on Sabaody. Luffy, dumb as ever, couldn't even recognize his own crewmates and ended up running into the fake Straw Hats instead. But when a Pacifista showed up, the truth was revealed. The last time they faced one of these machines, the entire crew was nearly wiped out. But now, the situation had completely changed.
遅え。いや、セカンド。ジェットピストル。パシフィスタのたったの一撃。
メガロ。
After the time skip, the Straw Hats were surrounded by an army of 100,000 enemies, and the situation looked bad. But then Luffy came bursting out of a shark and entered the battlefield in the most Luffy way possible. What followed was pure flexing. With a single burst of Conqueror's Haki, he knocked out half the army on the spot. It was the ultimate reminder that Luffy isn't just a captain, he's a true king.
Oi, Luffy!
4億の首俺がもらった。俺だ。
When Oden finally stepped up against Kaido after being trolled, he showed what kind of monster he really was. Facing the strongest creature in the world, Oden pushed Kaido harder than anyone had ever done before. With one devastating slash, he left Kaido scarred for life, a wound that even decades later had never healed, both on his body and in his mind. It was the kind of moment that proved Oden wasn't just a legend in name. He was a man who could shake even the world's strongest whenever he got serious.
随分と粘るじゃねえか。あの国でお前の好きにはさせない。カイドウ、おでん二刀流。どっちか。俺はここで行かねえんだ。大言としか。
On Thriller Bark, the Straw Hats faced one of their toughest challenges yet. Oars wasn't just a giant, he was a giant fighting with Luffy's powers. Every move he made carried terrifying force, and it felt like their own captain was turned against them. Oars shook off every attempt as if it were nothing. The longer the battle dragged on, the clearer it became. The Straw Hats alone stood no chance. Oars was simply on a different level, and the situation looked more hopeless with every passing second. When all hope seemed lost, the answer was clear. The only one who could defeat a fake Luffy was the original himself. And this time, he came back stronger than ever, pumped like on steroids. The true boss had arrived.
Monkey D, Luffy だぜ。俺一人だぜ。
When Jack attacked Zunisha, the situation on the top turned desperate. The giant elephant carrying an entire nation on its back was being bombarded, and for the first time it looked like even this ancient creature could collapse. Then something incredible happened. Zunisha started speaking, but only Momonosuke could hear his voice. The great elephant told him that if they didn't act, it would all be over. And with Momonosuke's command, Zunisha finally moved.
も気迫。何をする気だ。
花。
In Wano, Luffy finally faced Kaido in his first true one-on-one battle. Fired up after everything Kaido had done, Luffy didn't hesitate. He rushed in with Gear 4th and landed blow after blow, determined to bring the Yonko down. For a moment, it looked like Luffy might actually stand a chance. But then Kaido stood back up, almost unfazed, and ended the fight in an instant.
Force!
Lightning! Hot
At Hachinosu, Kobe was surrounded by pirates with no way out. But then came Garp, the hero of the Marines. He entered in one of the most epic ways possible. For Kobe, he risked his life, and you can't help but imagine what would have happened if he had done the same for Ace. Garp unleashed a punch so powerful it shook the entire island, leaving no doubt that even in his old age, he's still a force to be reckoned with.
Impact!
After being knocked down again and again, Luffy finally reached the moment that changed everything. On the rooftop of Onigashima, facing Kaido in what seemed like his final defeat, his heartbeat began to sound different. The drums of liberation. What followed was unlike anything we had ever seen. Luffy awakened his devil fruit, transforming into Gear 5. Suddenly, the fight turned into pure chaos, cartoonish, wild, and unstoppable. He bent the ground like rubber, laughed in the face of danger, and pushed Kaido back in ways nobody thought possible. Last on our list, we have moments from the Marineford War, and it all started with one of the most iconic entrances in One Piece. When Whitebeard arrived with his crew and his entire family rising from beneath the sea, you already knew things were about to get crazy. Whitebeard finished his entrance with a display only the strongest man in the world could deliver, cracking the very air itself with the power of his devil fruit, shaking the whole island. After his legendary entrance, Whitebeard waited, watching as the battlefield descended into chaos. But when the time was right, he finally stepped onto the front line. With his sheer aura, the Whitebeard pirates and allies got renewed determination. Together, they pushed forward and managed to free Ace. For a moment, it looked like victory. But as you all know, Didakainu killed Ace. What followed was nothing but pure fury. Whitebeard could no longer hold back. When the war reached its peak, Marineford was in ruins. The Whitebeard pirates were broken, the Marines had suffered heavy losses, and chaos threatened to spiral even further. At that point, there was only one man who could put an end to this madness.